Captain Dean Show.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Captain Dean Show. It's my show, and I talk about my music equipment. Eventually, I'm going to talk about other things, but I've been going down the list of all of my bass guitars and my one guitar and telling stories, and I'm kind of getting near the end of this segment because I've just about covered all of my bass guitars that I have. But you never know, I might get more. But for now, we're going to have an episode today on a bass that has a very short story, but a somewhat interesting story. A few years ago, I have mentioned in past episodes that in Bowling Green, Kentucky, we have Flealand. It's the greatest flea market in Kentucky. I don't think so, but maybe some people think that. For a long time, there was a music store inside there that was a really cool place. I got to know the owner very well, and I actually got my Franken bass from that store. It was called D&W Music, and this bass came from that store, and the guy that owned it was super nice, and that was when I was in the transition period of going from a drummer to a bass player. So I actually would get my drumsticks and cymbals and stuff like that from him before he sold the company off. Well, when he sold the company off, I pretty much stopped going there because it was taken over by another company here in town that I'm, off and on. Like, if I need something, I'll go there. But we live really close to Nashville, Tennessee. And if you're a musician and you live an hour away from Nashville, Tennessee, it kind of makes sense to go down there to get the stuff you need. But locally in Bowling Green, if I need something, I have a couple of music stores I've always counted on to be able to have what I need. And this particular place was just kind of cool because the guy was nice. And I don't always go into a music store needing anything. I like to just kind of walk around. They're very peaceful places for me. They're like being in a library. I've worked in a couple of music stores, and I love to just walk in there and look around. It is a very calming and relaxing environment for me to be in, because I'm just a big fan of this. I look at these as works of art just as well as putting them on and playing them, which is another level of excitement. But anyway, I walked in there one day, not long after he had sold the company. Maybe a year or something had gone by. And they had a bass on the wall that was a Squier jazz bass. And of course, I'm like, oh man, I need this. And I bought it, and it was a pretty good deal. It was, for a music store, I think it was like $120. And to me, that's not bad for a brand new Squier jazz bass at that time. So it was a good deal, and so I grabbed it, and I played it for a while, maybe a couple of years or something like that. Well, I ended up selling it, and I really don't know the reason. I think I sold it to buy another bass. You know what? I think I know why, now that I'm thinking about all this. I think I sold that jazz bass to buy that Jaguar because I really wanted a Jaguar. So I was like, okay, I don't need all these jazz basses. Well, at the time, I had a couple of jazz basses, but they became Mark Hoppus basses. So that one was a jazz bass that got converted into a Mark Hoppus bass. That was a jazz bass that I bought with the intent of turning it into a Mark Hoppus bass. The same goes for this one. I ordered it. It was a jazz bass, blah, blah, blah. The only one I have currently that is untouched from being a jazz bass is the punk rock jazz bass. That is an untouched jazz bass guitar that all I did was cover it in stickers and upgrade the pickup to be a better quality. And so I've left that one alone, but it's all stickered up. It's bastardized. It's a cheapy brand. Not a big deal, right? Well, out of nowhere, I get word that the guy that bought the bass off of me no longer wanted it. So he probably just gave up and didn't care anymore and just wanted it gone. So I got it back. I think it was like $40 cheaper than what I sold it to him for. But anyway, I got it back. So my idea was I'm going to get it back. I'm going to put a black pick guard on it. And now I'm going to vintage base it. I'm going to put plate covers on it. And I painted the headstock to match the body. And I was going for the black on black look because that's kind of a cool thing I've been into lately. I have a Chicago Cubs hat that's black on black logo. I have a couple of t-shirts that have black ink directly on top of black. And it's just become a thing that I'm really kind of into at the time. Well, when you put chrome coverings on it, it's not necessarily fully black on black. So it is still that, vibe, but I saw a few pictures of some older vintage, like jazz bass type things. And instead of having the basic jazz knob that you see on them, they had just the regular chrome knobs on the volume and the tone. And I was like, that's pretty cool. So on a nice little dive into Amazon, which take it for what it is, I dove into the world of Amazon and found everything I needed, and I think I only spent maybe $50 or less. Probably, I'm pretty sure it was less than $50. And this is what I ended up doing. I already had the thumb rest, and so I already had the knobs. So I took off the black jazz bass knobs. I added this. I added the black pick guard, and I ordered the chrome covers. And I painted the headstock. I just did 2 coats of black, and then I put the decal on it because it was like $5 or something. And so I'm really happy with that. And of course, I'm not looking for perfection. I just wanted it to kind of match the body because I thought this was really cool. So here it is. I got my old jazz bass back. And all I did was upgrade it a little bit with some aesthetics. And anyway, I got it back. I did all the work. And I was like, Am I going to name it Black Betty? No. This is Betty Bamalam. Yeah, I love it. So, plain black strap, Ernie ball strap, of course, is mainly what I've been using lately. And there you go. There's not a lot to it. I will say that it took me a hot minute to get used to having these covers on here. I have played a few basses like this, but I have never owned one before. So I'm going to plug it in and give a little demonstration real quick about it. The thing that got me was for picking. I could not do a palm mute anymore. And so I was at band practice one day and I was trying to palm mute and I couldn't really do it because I'm used to being down here. So if I'm playing with a pick wide open, it's not bad. Or if I go up here, got a little more thin sound to it. So that took me a minute to kind of get used to as far as picking goes. But when I played a song in my fingers, it was much, much better. And then I can go down here and do the same thing. And yet it sounds different depending on where my hand is. So I was really intrigued by that. So I really dig it. I love the way it looks. It is a real jazz bass, and I'm going to leave it alone. I'm not going to turn it into a Mark Hoppus. I'm not going to do anything to mess this up, because out of all this, I should have at least one authentic jazz bass that is left alone. And so just a few minor things added to it, but that's pretty much all I've done. I did decide that if I ever played it live, this back plate's coming off. I could get around playing with the center one without any major problems. And it actually is kind of cool because of the thumb rest concept, you know. Anyway, that's a crappy practice amp, so don't pay any attention. Either my playing is crap or it sounds like crap. So there you go. That is Betty Bamalam. I think it's a really cool bass now, and you know, it is what it is. In a way, it's more of an art piece for me to look at it with this on it. But I've, you know, like I said, if I play live, I'll probably take off the back plate and leave this one here. But the cool thing is they're very easy to take off. The screws are the same type that go into the pick guard, so they're very small. And taking these off can be done in literally a minute. So don't be surprised if you see this on stage with me sometime soon. It may or may not have plates on it, but it will always remain a jazz bass. I am not going to turn this into a Hoppus bass. I am not going to paint it. I am not going to bastardize it in any way, shape, or form. I'm going to leave it alone. This is Betty Bamalam. This also doesn't have much of a story to tell or any photographs, but it is a 2019 Squier jazz bass. I have converted it over to a Fender vintage looking jazz bass. And there's not much to say. That is Betty Bamalam. Do 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 ba do 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 ba do 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 boo boo ba ba da ba 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 do 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 ba one ba 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 da ba ba da 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 ba ba da ba ba da ba ba do 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 ba 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 ah do 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 ba do do